How are you guys? In this video, I'm going to go very deep into why it's so hard for your mindset to achieve an unbreakable confidence, authenticity, and freedom within the social order. I mean, you felt many times that there is something blocking you and not allowing you to express your full personality, your full potential. And sometimes it's felt like a stomach pain, other times like a tremulous sensation of awkwardness, a feeling of being uncomfortable in your own skin, or an invasive thoughts that you are out of place, that you don't belong, whatever you are, whoever you are. It's like when you did something wrong and you are ashamed, but with the exception that this time you haven't done anything wrong. You are just being, but just being seems like a heavy duty. And that heavy duty is like an invisible social pressure with anxiety effects that kicks into your mind in the form of negative thoughts. And those thoughts tell you, don't do it, don't say it, don't even think about it. Obviously, this soon transforms into self-doubt, self-ejection, and finally into a habit of self-sabotage. This is why you haven't taken that trip you wanted to take, or even can approach a person when you want to meet one person is right in front of you, right? It's always the same force, never too late to destroy your positive assumptions and drag you into your old patterns and identical ways of doing things. So let's face it, it's hard to break free, especially because this force is so strong and invisible. It doesn't have a clear origin or a clear destination, but it does have a clear function. The function is to keep you quiet, keep you inactive, keep you in place, keep you inside a rigid mold. Now, if you really want to change your life and break free from these invisible limitations that hold you back to live an exciting life, first you need to understand the origin of that force, don't you think? The way it comes into being, the way it comes into manifestation into your reality. For example, has always been there? Does it have a beginning, an end? Is it equal in strength for everybody? Or maybe its level of domination depends on your age, your gender, your mindset, your predisposition to let it act in your life. Well, what I want to tell you in this video is that you will never be clear about all these issues if you don't understand a few very important things first. In a previous video, I explained you that your mind is an endless tension between two forces or an oscillation between two different characters. I even used the movie Fight Club to help you visualize that the daily conflict you feel inside yourself is between what you are and what you wish to be, between your real and your ideal self. Or if we link it back to the characters in the movie, would be between external validation, your real self, and self-validation, your ideal self. Okay then. So that tension between the real and the ideal in constant conflict inside your mind, paradoxically, is the essence of your mind. In other words, it is your mind itself. And this happens because your mind is an activity, it's a movement, it's a development, all right? You are not a stone, an inanimate object that is fixed in a place and cannot evolve. So the oscillation, the instability of your mind is actually a good thing because it means that you are alive, that you are basically changing, okay? And people that is dead don't change because they are not minds anymore. But what this means, it means that to upgrade your mindset, to truly improve your mindset, you need to change your relation with yourself and start understanding your mind not as a something that wants stability, but as a temporal liquid process. In other words, as a historical development. Okay, so to make it very clear, I want to go back to the beginning of everything. I want you to go back when you were a baby, okay? Think about your very first day in the world, okay? What did you know about the world back then? You knew nothing, right? You were completely lost and with no map of the external world. You were no different than a castaway on a desert island, just looking around and just being, okay? Being what? Well, being lost. But at that stage, the others, whoever they were, your parents, your uncles, your grandparents, whoever was taking care of you on those early years, had to integrate your mind into their world, their culture, their symbols, to make that initial feeling of being lost go away. So they taught you their language, they taught you the names of the objects, they taught you how to use the objects, and also they taught you the name of the social roles that the people use the objects, okay? So for example, they told you this is a hammer, this is hammering, and this is a carpenter, the person who works with the hammer. Okay, So you might be thinking, okay, this is very simple and obvious, right? And you're right. But exactly because it's so obvious, you never really think about what is the meaning of all this in your daily life. And more important, the function that this has in the structure of your mindset. Okay? So I will put it like this. What you never think about is that this very, very basic social condition in your early years, it is at the same time a mold, a mental mold. And what is a mental mold? Well, originally a mold is a hollow container used to give shape to hot liquids, materials like such as wax or metal, when it cools and hardens. So then a mental mold is also a container but is designed to give your liquid mind a generic form. Or in other words, an impersonal direction, some map of the external world. Remember that you were lost at the beginning, knowing nothing, right? And now you know some things. You are in fact integrated into the symbolic reality of language. But this language you speak is not really yours. It's not your creation. It's not private. All the contrary, it's a public generic language. I give you an extreme trivial example. You look at a glass on a table from your perspective, okay? I look at the glass at the table from my perspective. In a way, what we see is completely different because you see it from one angle and I see it from another angle, right? One side of the glass shows to you that doesn't show to me, right? And one side of the glass shows to me that doesn't show to you. So this means that each of one of us live always in a single, unique, irrepeatable perspective of the external world. Nevertheless, if we have to say what we're looking at, we will both say it without even having a previous meeting or agreeing on it, that we're looking at the same object, right? We will say we're looking at glass on a table. So by saying that, without paying attention to it, we move from our unique perspective to a general notion of objective reality. So basically, we have been conditioned by all the other people we've been meeting since the first day in the world to see the things in front of us as a glass and nothing else. But, and here's a huge subtle point I'm trying to make in this video to help you understand something much more deeper than that. When you see the glass as a glass, okay, and I see the glass as a glass, what is actually allowing you and me to see the glassness of the glass or the tableness of the table? I mean, the generic social public objective form we call glass or table. Well, clearly it's not the part of you that operates as a unique individual, because we already agreed that you have your own unique, irrepeatable perspective on that thing. The perspective is yours, your own. Nobody else have it, and nobody else will ever have it. But all of a sudden, you can't stop seeing the thing as everybody else see it, as a glass. So here's the incredible lesson learned from philosopher Martin Heidegger. When you and I and everybody else in our daily life see the glass as a glass, or the table as a table, or the door as a door, we are not being our conscious selves. Actually, we already lost ourselves as unique individuals. Lost not in the unknown environment of the baby, but into a generic, alienated, or disowned way of being. Okay, let me explain. That way of being that allow you to see the glass as a glass is part of you, it's part of us, even when it's generic, social, impersonal, and public. But it's not you or me. It is everybody at the same time and nobody. Heidegger called this part of ourselves the inauthentic self, which actually could mean the anybody self, which is strictly non-individualistic. So in other words, this part of you, which is not really you, because it's also part of me and everybody else, is where you live most of your life, and what allows you to be part of the social symbolic world, okay, is how you understand the instrument, the profession, the activities, the meaning of everything. This is, for example, why the marketplace made the clothing you're wearing right now, for example, not thinking of you as a unique, repeatable person, a spiritual individual, but thinking about an everybody self, a generic self that can be you, me, or whoever fits into those clothing, right? So The market is completely impersonal and does not care about your uniqueness. Actually, it doesn't even believe in your uniqueness. Okay, so you might be wondering, what are the good and the bad things about all this? And how knowing this duality of selves will help me to be a better person and improve my life, my mindset, right? Okay, the bad part is that you spend most of your life living in that impersonal mode of being, your anybody self, okay? You can't get rid of it completely. Actually, you can. But the good part is that this generic mode of being is also exactly what allows you to see the world as you see it. Without it, you would feel lost, but not losing your unique self into the symbolic as you are right now, but lost as when you were a baby, when you couldn't even recognize the objects around you, which is pretty bad. And that would be a very disturbing mental state as an adult. Would be like taking a psychedelic drug, like being on ayahuasca or LSD. If you try those substances, you know what I mean. Okay, so this generic mode of being that makes yourself an anybody, okay, is like an invisible glasses that you wear that you can take off because they are invisible and they allow you to see the human world as you see it right now. Animals don't see this world, you see, because they don't wear these glasses. For example, a dog or a cat looking at the glass on the table, it doesn't see a glass on the table. It just sees shapes and sensory qualities stimuli to go closer or farther from the entity. Is different. So probably every dog or every cat will see a different thing. But animals are also right in what they see because essentially the thing on the table in itself is not a glass. It is just a glass through the invisible impersonal glasses we're all wearing as humans. Okay? In fact, that thing on the table could be whatever you make of it, if and only if you break free from the invisible mold of the anybody self you seem to be trapped in. This is what artist Michel Duchamp was trying to show the world with his masterpiece, The Fountain, which is basically a urinal from a toilet reinterpreted by the self-liberated mind of the artist and exhibited as a piece of art in a museum. What Duchamp was trying to do there, it was opening our eyes to see that we have been conditioned to see the urinal as a urinal and nothing more. Or in our case, the glass on the table as a glass on the table. Every time we see the world as everybody see it, 90% of the time, pretty much, is because we are trapped into what I call in my book, the great mold, okay? Okay, now that you have all the concepts, I will give you the next step. That great mold that is trapping your mind into a generic way of being, okay? It is what you need to constantly overcome to elevate yourself into the other way of being. The other way of being that comes from your unique individuality, which is irrepeatable and way more free and way more authentic than the boring anybody self. Okay? Okay. That is Tyler Durden from Fight Club I explained before. A version of you that can be liberated from within you if you know how to do it. Everything what I've said in this video to give you a solid foundation and understanding for your real long-lasting self-improvement is from the second chapter of titled Breaking the Great Mold in my book Philosophical Cocaine, A Radical Approach to Self-Liberation. I will leave you a link in the description just in case you want to get the book. So, I hope you enjoyed the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to keep diving into the deep philosophy of the mind, social conditioning, and of course, the real ways you could ultimately liberate yourself from all those forces that are diming down your unique self. Okay? This is Alvaro Quevedo, philosopher, award-winning magician with over 20 years of experience living the infamous and authentic nomadic lifestyle. Until the next time.